I asked Dave for questions. I didn't get the sheet yet. I'm sure that will come through in a bit.
Believe we are on live now.
Yeah.
Awesome. So what's up, y'all? It's Monday, and not just any Monday. It's Marvelous Monday. Thank you, Ketel One, another round, another rally, and Portland Cocktail Week for having us again. My name is Fanny Chu, and this is my Marvelicious co-host, the one and only Amy.
Thank you, Fanny. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. Today, we are so very excited to have both of the 11th generation Nolet brothers with us, sharing the history and story behind Ketel One, and also sharing more about where their family has spent the last 11 generations distilling spirits. So, Carl and Bob, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Yes.
There you are. Yay! Hello, friends. How are you all doing today?
Fantastic.
We are extremely good, yes.
Good. Thank you so much for being here. I feel like we're going to go right into an intro video. Does that sound right to like take a gander at the whole thing?
Let's
I'm
try.
ready for anything and anything, Fanny. Just throw the spaghetti.
I'm Bob Nolet, the 11th generation here at the Nolet Family Distillery, Schiedam, Holland. Ketel One Vodka is unique because we distill it in a totally different way. We use modern distilling techniques and the old world craft. Column still combined with pot still, and that results in a very crisp, fresh, mouth-coating, long finish. Ketel One is the oldest pot still that we have. Pot still number 1 is the pot still that was first put in our distillery, and it's still part of our production. We have a distillery that started in 1691, and together with my dad and my brother, we always look to deliver and distill new products. Ketel One Botanical is our newest innovation. We distill Ketel One with herbs and spices, and then we infuse it with our beautiful natural ingredients. Grapefruit and rose, cucumber and mint, and peach and orange blossom. All three are just delicious. And the best thing about it is no carbs, no artificial flavors, no sugar added, only 73 calories, 40% less than a glass of white wine. Ketel One is really a family-made brand. And we as a family take care of our community here in Schiedam, Holland, and other communities around the world. We are partnering up with bartenders to see if we can help them come up with ideas to make the world a little bit better in their surroundings, in their bars, in their community. On every bottle of Ketel One, there's an invite. Visit us in Schiedam. You can see how we distill Ketel One, how we make Ketel One Botanical. We can guide you through the whole distillery.
But in the meantime, raise a glass of Ketel One Vodka and join us from wherever you are.
Wow, that was incredible. Bob,
Thank you.
Carl, you guys grew up in the distillery then. Can you tell us a little bit about how life was, like growing up there?
It was super fun. Since I'm the oldest, you can tell, obviously, Bob and I were trying to hide it with a lot of makeup, but it's not working today. But it is so much fun. I mean, it's 11 generations, Bob and I, and having our dad and mom there, and growing up at the distillery as youngsters. Dad still does work 7 days a week. Bob and I slowed down a little bit. We're only doing it 6 because we both got, he's got 2 kids, I got 7 kids, so you got to spend some time with those little rascals as well to make sure that they grow up right as the 12th generation. But we're walking through the distillery as a young kid and pretending to do tours at the old kettle number 1, and here's the bottling line, here's other stuff. And then, many years later, you grow up and you're actually really doing it. And then many, many, many years later, you see this wonderful, lovely, marvelous distillery grow up to what it is today, and we've been part of that. So it's nothing but a lot of fun. But Bob, tell your parts of the little story.
Yeah, so we live around the corner. I still do. My brother moved over to California, first New York and San Francisco, and now he ended up in the beautiful sunny side of the United States. I live here with my wife in Schiedam, and next to actually our father and mother, grandpa and grandma, And the same actually happens now when my brother and I grew up, is that my kids come over to the distillery. We visit the distillery in the weekends, or they come during the week to see their grandfather and myself at the office. So they more or less have the same education as we had, just slowly growing up with the pot stills and the production and the bottling lines and all the employees that we have here in Schiedam.
Nice. So, Carl, can you tell us a little bit about Bix, the bar restaurant that you got going on?
Yeah, that was our first account in the United States of America. I mean, Dad and I, we went over. It was in San Francisco, a little street called Gold Street. Beautiful little restaurant. It's been there for, they've served 3 generations of San Franciscans, if I say that properly. Doug Biederbeck is the owner. And we came in with our Ketel One there. We knocked on the door. They were actually still closed. They opened the door and looked at these 2 guys and had these funny accents, which mine has now become more of an American accent, but in 1990 was definitely just like Bob sounded, not worse, with all respect, being in my English. And he goes, "Oh, so where are you guys from?" I said, "We're from Holland, and we're trying to sell this beautiful Ketel One Vodka." And he goes, "Well, I love vodka, come on in." And so we tasted it with the bartenders and against all the other vodkas that they had. And we have our story. We're proud of how we do. You start with Ketel One first to smell and taste this, and then all the other vodkas at the time, they were relevant, Absolut, Stoli. And they go like, "Wow, this is so different and unique." So they were our first account, and they still are one of our biggest accounts in San Francisco. And every time I visit San Francisco, my dad or my brother, first place we stop is, of course, say hi to Doug and the folks behind the bar there. They're all still tremendous friends. And we're so happy to see, for him now 3 generations that he served his food and his wonderful restaurant to the San Francisco people to have our Ketel One still in there. It's lovely.
It's incredible.
Very cool. So tell us about the pot still. That's a really cool thing to hear about. What does it bring to the spirit that you all are producing? What is the inspiration behind that?
Yeah, if you look at the quality of Ketel One, that is something that really makes the difference. If you distill vodka, and we start with 100% wheat, the wheat then goes through the column still, and you have to do that really, really well. You have to take out all the impurities. You have to basically make a very, very pure spirit. And it goes all the way up to 96.4% alcohol, extremely neutral in taste. And that is where basically all vodka start with. Our father actually was looking for something unique. He visited San Francisco for the first time in 1983. And he was served a martini, a vodka martini. Obviously not with Ketel One at that point in time, but a different vodka. And they were all very harsh, basically. If you look back in time, vodka was a very harsh product. It wasn't very smooth. So you needed lots of vermouth and so on to actually make it palatable and drinkable. And my father had a vision to actually distill something that would actually bring that mouthfeel and that coating and that long finish from the vodka itself, without adding sugar, without adding vermouth. And if you look at the quality of the column still that we have, it is very neutral. It would be a beautiful vodka, but it would not have that beautiful, lively tingle, that long finish that actually perfects the martini itself. And the pot still brings that. So the heart of the pot still that we use is the one that brings that beautiful tingle and that long finish. So we distill pot still number 1 still today. It's the oldest still that we have. It is a coal fire still. All the other stills are or with gas or with steam. We have different types of pot stills. But the ones that produce Ketel One, they're all run in a similar way. We redistill actually our wheat spirit. We take off the heads, we take off the tail end, because the tail end is weak. The heads is a little bit more of the bite there, and only the heart is used. And we combine a few of these different batches with our ultra wheat spirit. We blend it, together, we bring it to drinking strength, and we filter it over charcoal just to take out more of the color, not the taste for charcoal filtering. And you end up with Ketel One. So it's not only the name giver, Ketel #1, but also the one that the recipe was created in for the first time.
That's so cool. Well, Fanny and I can confirm after doing Marvelous Mondays for the last like 6 months or so that the pot still makes it just extra special, and we are drinking so many good martinis as a result of that. So, all right. So between the brothers, how did it come down to determining that Carl was going to go to USA? Did you all like roll the dice or rock, paper, scissors to determine who was going to be making the big trip, or how did that come about? Tell us about the USA.
It just happens to be that when you're older, you sometimes get, a little bit of the first try. So I was an exchange student, North Carolina. Yes. I was at South Mecklenburg, outside of Charlotte, the Sabres. Not that many people know that, but that's where I went to school at 15 years old. I was always a venturist. I'd like to get out, driven by probably my mom and grandparents, and of course Dad too. But just to go and seek out and see beyond the beautiful little country, Schiedam. So I enjoyed that. It was a fantastic experience. Learned a lot, made a lot of mistakes, which is good because only then you learn. Mm-hmm. And came back to Holland, and Dad was trying to get into the United States with then Ketel One. And I said, anytime you want me to join, I would be happy to go with you. And so that kind of started it that way. And I started working at the distillery 8888, a few years ahead of Bob. So he was still in school and I was working. And so I came to the United States and I said, Dad, I just want this opportunity. And he said, all right, well, here you go. And it was a 100,000 guilders he gave me in 1990, which was equivalent to 25,000 United States dollars. He said, here's a game plan for 3 years. You got to go figure it all out. You got to find a distributor. You got to find a place to live. I double checked if my credit card was working, so I bought a nice Seiko watch. I left Schiphol Airport to Heathrow, London. At Heathrow, London, I immediately bought that nice watch because I thought, I gotta need some bling when I come over there to New York. And that wonderful watch was taken away. It was September when I bought it, and I remember it vividly. It was yesterday. And Dad came the next month in October, and he said, is everything going well? I said, absolutely, wonderful. He said, I saw from our Lim Duim in accounting that your credit card's working. I said, oh, really? What are we talking about? He says, that beautiful watch you have on your wrist. I said, yeah, 350 pounds. I said, it was fantastic. He said, why did you buy it? And my dumb reaction was, I bought it for my brother because he's going to turn 20. And he says, oh, perfect. He says, why don't you put it back in the box then and give it to me so I can give it to him when I go back? Like, you got to be kidding me here. What did I say? And I still believe he's got that much. Maybe I haven't our first day, but no, he has. So things like that was just one small things. And of course,
Is hij het of niet?
All right. Think.
Probably displaying and gives it to his kids to make sure that he knows his uncle bought him something. But it's fun. So New York started with our distributor, had a fantastic time. And it's all about the bartenders for us. And it's all about on-premise and building it, relationships, and creating that one-on-one and the taste test and showing the difference, what's inside that. And the beauty about what Bob was sharing is that you can still visit our distillery. Now, maybe not now with COVID and all that stuff, but he has a fantastic thing online as well where you can come. We'll talk about that a little bit later on and how that all works. But the beauty about our distillery, it's a working distillery. It's not a museum. It's not something that you go in and dust everything off. Our mom makes sure that the thing is super clean, and many other folks. You walk through the distillery, you can soak it all up, you can feel it, you know how it's made. You see the people that are in the videos, you see Bob walking around, you see our dad walking around. If I'm in town, you see me. So you know it's real, and all we try to do is create phenomenal spirits for all of us to enjoy. And trust me, if it's not good, we won't give it to you, all right? Because it won't pass us. So everything that we made so far, I believe that we can stand by and put the stamp of approval on the guarantee of our family, with our family crest that we so proudly have on our hands. So that's it. But New York, USA, if it wasn't for that wonderful trip, and of course that watch that I will never forget. The great start of making mistakes. And I have a few more. We'll go through them about the early days of Bob and I and how we did it all. And it's a true family. I mean, I thought I was going to get a nice corner office after I asked my dad to start working, and that didn't happen. Back to my little shed because I moved out at an earlier age. Jeans and a t-shirt now. Reported at the distillery. General manager down there looked at me and goes, "What am I going to do with you, fool?" So you know nothing. I mean, you're just a young kid. So here's a rag and here's copper polish, and just make it all shine. There's miles of copper, by the way. So don't think you're going to be done. Besides the copper pot stills, and I worked my tail end off and polished, and my hands get greener by that day. And on Friday, I walk over to Rinus, and I said, "Rinus," I said, I want to go out to this. It's the weekend. I mean, I'm a young guy. I'm going to go out. And I'm not a guy that puts his hands in his pocket. So what I'm going to do, I soap every day. He says, "Young man," he had to look up. He said, "Here's probably your best lesson for the rest of your life. If you don't know what you're doing, ask." I let that sink in, and I'm looking at myself and go like, wow, I mean, I'm decently smart. I mean, it's like, great, but I should be able to get this sentence. I said, "Help me out." He said, "Well, if you would have asked how to polish copper, I would have told you put on gloves so you don't get green hands. Have a nice weekend." Like, oh my Lord. There you go. 2 weeks later, it finally was off. So, and that's it. So we never do that anymore. Bob and I, we don't pretend that we know anything. We surround ourselves with very smart people. And we just, keep a great, healthy, fun attitude on life. Work hard, play hard. And, and that's basically what you get with this family here. So
Love that.
That's fun. So Carl, let's stay with you. What was your father's intention for creating the kind of quality in Ketel One Vodka?
Well, as Bob said, with him going through the United States and tasting all the other vodkas, you can never become another me too, in that sense that you just follow what everybody else does. So you need to find something, and his way of thinking is always kind of an upside down thinking. So you needed to create something unique and different. And as Bob said, everything at that time was slightly harsh. That was also the flavor profile. It was more in the gin martinis that were going, and not necessarily the vodka martinis per se as big. So with that, he needed a change, and he had these beautiful pot stills. And he started experimenting with that to create and take that bite out of that vodka, and he was able to do something that is very magical, and naming it after the pot still Ketel #1. So with that, he had a whole different philosophy. We come from a small little family business in the country. We don't have millions of dollars to start investing and hope the spaghetti against the wall and don't figure it out. And if it doesn't, there you go. So we have to be methodical. We have to be more, every dollar, every guilder counts. And still today it does. So his thought was, we need to go after the bartender. 25 in New York City as that was the protocol.
I think we're losing him a bit.
Yeah. Hey, Carl, I think your internet might be being silly right now. Would you mind backing up that story for us a little bit?
Certainly. So for our dad and coming back from New York, so learning and the 25 bars that he set out as a goal, my first initial thought was, let's look up all these fancy restaurants. And as soon as I looked up the fancy restaurants and I walked in, they had no bar. They were more with sommeliers and the wine, fantastic, but a vodka soda, not happening. So I had to go to different types of bars, more the neighborhood bars, where people were sitting and belly up to the bar, and I heard, "Give me an Absolute on the rocks, give me an Absolute soda." I go, "Oh, we got to change that." So those are the 25 bars that we started out, and then I followed the people and asked them where, because I lived in New York. I said, "So where are you going?" So, for example, Fanny, besides here at Lucy's on 85th and Columbus, where else you go? "Oh, we go to blah 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 on Amsterdam," and I go here. Oh, like perfect. So I just followed all of these wonderful customers that were drinking Ketel One. So at the next place, they could order it, and they go, "Oh my God, you got Ketel? Yeah, I'll have that." So that's how it all slowly started. And that's how our dad planned it for us. We have a saying, try not to make mistakes. So, and the word try is at the beginning because we're going to make mistakes. But if you try not to make mistakes, as our family creed says, then you avoid the big ones. And that's the whole thing. We live by very simple.
Learn when you don't make mistakes, right?
No, you can't learn without mistakes. But if you try not to make them, you avoid the big ones. And that's good.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Bob, can you tell us a little bit about London Video Television?
Oh, yeah. Carl started this story his first days in New York, but my first selling days were actually in London. We got a letter from Simon Diffett. Simon Diffett has also a beautiful website. Yes, I see some nodding. Simon became a great friend for myself, but also for the brand. Simon wrote a letter to the distillery that it was time for Ketel One to go to London. And obviously he lives in London. So I went over. I had a few great nights with Simon. Dick Bratzel is also a well-known bartender from the past. The Bramble is his, and a few others. And he showed me the cocktail scene in London. And when I saw that, we knew that Ketel One needed to go to London. So I started to go bar by bar, exactly what Carl did, doing tastings, explaining the product. At that time, we made a little video of the distillery. We wanted to show people that. And it's only 20 years ago, in 2000, 1998, the first time that I went there, that we had a television with a video cassette in the TV. My kids don't know what a videotape is, a big plastic thing. I have no idea. But in those days, only 20 years ago, we were, walking around in the streets of London and in the underground with the TV, and people thought we stole it or something like that. But that was the smallest laptop nowadays, and Beamers and all that stuff, and iPhones and iPads. But in those days, you had to carry a TV around to show what you wanted to do. And that's how we started.
You had to make sure you had the right plug too, because you bought your Dutch TV, that didn't work.
No, I bought it locally. That wasn't that stupid.
So I'm assuming you gained very great arms once you were carrying TV everywhere. Got to show the gun show off.
Yeah.
Left is very small. I can't show that. But right.
Yeah, we had a very small, really boutique importer, and the brand manager for Ketel One at the time was a guy from New Zealand, and we carried it together one by one. So went all okay.
I'm glad it was that, and instead of you remember the big laser discs one also, you could have had that too. That would have been even worse.
Yeah, no, it worked.
Sounds like it worked.
They were born. I know that scratching stuff and anything else.
He's breaking up again. So.
Carl, what were you saying there? You broke up for a second.
Yeah, no, I said I'm so old that I remember I was a DJ and I had the small ones, the 45s and the 70. I mean, it's crazy. Way before you ladies were born. That was real. So we scratched still.
I remember that. I remember 8-track too.
You've seen it in movies, Fanny. Is that what you're saying?
No, I actually own 8-tracks. I'm from 1976. So yeah, I'm up there.
We're going to have a whole new other thing for the rest of these wonderful folks that are all watching. They're going, what's an 8-track? I love you all.
VHS, baby. Yeah, that's.
Yeah, there'll be lots of Googling of VHS and laser discs and 8-track after this. We're just doing our part to teach the youth. That's
this
what
is
we're doing.
beyond Ketel One. We're giving you a whole thing here. This is
immersive education. That's what we do. Very important.
Monday.
Yeah. All right, we can go back to talking about your amazing product, I guess. We should probably do that. So you do have an amazing product that tastes incredible. What kind of team do you have working inside the distillery that's responsible for testing to make sure that it is tasting the way that you want it, and then having the whole family sign off on it too? Like, how does that happen inside the distillery?
Yeah, that's basically the day job that I have to oversee the distillation and the whole distillery. We have 4, we call them master distillers. There's also a senior one, and they take care of all the distillation every day. They produce batches, and a batch of pot still takes about 9 hours. So one comes early, starts up the production, lights up all the stills, and then slowly during the day we take samples where the distillation is, what the stage is of the distillation, and then we end up with the heads and tails we basically discard, and then the heart is then becomes Ketel One basically. Mm-hmm. So the laboratory takes a sample, makes sure that the distillers did their best to produce a good batch basically. And then that goes also to a tasting panel. So every morning around 9:30, we have about 12 colleagues that are selected within the distillery. We have about 110 plus people at the distillery, from the cleaning crew up to the people in the office, and whoever has the best tasting buds are in that panel. And they taste the different batches. They also sign off. And then the final product is made. Ketel One is blended, filtered. Then it goes back to the lab, back to the panel. And if the panel and the lab signs off, then a family member, and still our dad, does most of the tasting. And if he's not around, then I do it. And we always check if all 12 panel members are still alive. Then we know the batch is good. There are only a few Nolet, so we have to make sure that we have a few people in between.
That's a joke.
That's a joke.
You're saying that is definitely not a joke, Carl?
Yeah, some centuries ago they did that with kings, but we copied that.
No, that's exactly. There are probably some world leaders still today, but that's pre-tasting.
No, we do a lot of testing, because when the product leaves the distillery, we have to be more than sure that it's the best quality that we can distill, and that is how our dad started. From basically scratch. We got 11 generations now, but actually the time when our dad took over, we went through World War II, our grandfather made that, and then when our dad took over, the industry was also very, very difficult. Lots of competition. There was basically no future for our distillery. Lots of generations in the past, and there was no future. But with Ketel One and the quality in the bottle, we do definitely have a future. And also with the innovation of Ketel One Botanical and our Nolet Gin, we believe we have products that the consumers are actually looking for today.
Yeah, you're not you have a pretty extensive list of solid products that I think will take you places for the future. I believe that.
Yeah.
I think we have another video of the distillery that we're going to watch now.
Please.
Wow. That's incredible.
That's all here in Schiedam.
All those boxes of Ketel One, just wow. That gives me a little goosebumps, you know?
Yeah, that's also one of the wow factors that when you visit the distillery, on one side of our beautiful Schiedam canal, we have a pot still, old coal fire still, and then you see the modern part of the distillery around the kettles, around the pot stills, but also bottling lines. And then you end up in the warehouse on the other side, and basically robots run the show there. So you have the old pot still craft on one side, and then you got robots running the show at the logistics center.
Yeah. Well, there's like 11 generations, you said, of resilient family traditions handed down. You want to tell us a little bit about it, Carl?
Yeah, it's a marvelous thing. I mean, it's every single generation always has a hope. So we're glad that in 1691 our family started at the first generation, building his distillery and passing on his craft to the next. And I think that if, that day that comes one day that you're up in heaven and hopefully all of that is there, and you get to meet all of these generations before you that you read about and you saw the journeys of everything that they've done, with the hope that it would be passed on to the next generation. But at a certain moment you're not here anymore, and then it's gone, and most of them don't make it past that. So we'll be celebrating 330 years next year, and 11 generations, and hopefully one day getting the 12 generations involved and excited about what we do. And they're all good folks, so I think we got a very good chance that one or two, or who knows, even more will pop up. And you see their journey and their entrepreneurship. I mean, our great grandfather, 8th generation, moving to the United States of America, building a distillery in Baltimore, 1898, opening up in 1902, enjoying being there, selling his wonderful products to the American consumer. And then unfortunately Prohibition comes, 1919, 1920, you have to go back to the Netherlands. And then World War II, 40, 45, totally stops the distillery. Many great things happened at our distillery, things that, when you walk through there, you'll hear and you'll see. So there's, all of that stuff happened. And the only thing that we need to do, each generation, try to keep the doors of that family business open. And that's it. And that's what our grandfather did. After World War II, he engaged our dad at a very young and early age. He was going to move to London and work in the shipping business. And his dad said, you know what, son, I need you. And so dad came back, looked at the business, had a whole different vision of how he would do it. And he did. And he kept the doors open, and then kept them much wider open than before. Bob and our journey as the 11th generation is to do the same thing. Is innovation, new products, creating marvelous spirits that people enjoy, like our Ketel One Citron, Ketel One Oranje, like our Nolet Gin, like our now Ketel One Botanicals with 3 incredible varietals: cucumber, mint, orange blossom, grapefruit and rose. And then recently, behind Bob's shoulders, you see some of the cans in that ready to drink part. So as a whole family, we maybe can use an history, but we certainly, if you looked closely, you saw that lift going down with the cases. So the distillery is on one side of the canal, the warehouse on the other side of the canal. And we were not able to build a bridge. So Dad said to the 2 sons, because since we can't go over it, let's go under it. So we built our own tunnel. And it's one of those things, it's, you don't expect from a family when you say, oh my gosh, they've been around since 1691. You probably think about more of the stuffy folks, the old banker style. So hopefully the audience is kind of surprised by these 2 brothers. Look at them going like, wow, you know what? Yeah, they may be old, but it's pretty okay. So let's hope, because we are.
You guys aren't that old.
You're not that old, and you're definitely pretty okay. So,
Okay.
Carl, you started to talk a little bit about the botanicals, and I know that is something that all of the bartenders have very much been enjoying as of late. Can you tell us a little bit about how the botanicals came to be? Like, was that something you were seeking to break into that market, even though you already had those 3 staples that were amazing, like within the Ketel One family? Tell us all about the botanicals.
Well, you're starting to see it around you, and it's starting to be with everything. It's working out. You see, what I didn't think was ever going to be fashion, Lululemon. I mean, you see people walking around with the whole entire day now, all of that, and not too many feet away from me is part of half of my family, and my wife is there as well. She's been always after me about making sure that I lose some weight. So I'm all about the calories, and so the calories, and go like, oh my, how can we do that? And so the long and the short is, I mean, it was literally driven by our own families, our own folks that help guide us. You see it around you. You see that people are paying better attention to their health. You see their intake, and I'm told every single day, you don't need an extra bite right there. You don't need dessert. So anyway, long story short, that's how it now goes at our dinner table. And so instead of doing 40% alcohol, we reduced it to 30% alcohol. And that's 97 calories on the kettle and 73 calories on the Ketel One Botanicals. We did the 3 varietals because it comes from our Nolet Jr. That's the father of the thought. And working together with the innovation teams at Diageo and ours at our distillery, we created something that I think was pretty darn marvelous. And first of its kind. It's always good to be the first, especially when it works. But we've done our homework. We always do our homework. As we said earlier, we try not to make mistakes. And with our botanicals, we have 3 of them. There were some sales folks, and I'm a sales guy, but there were some sales folks that said, Carl, I love you very much, but 3, that's impossible. I mean, 1, okay. So pick the one that is the best. And I said, we can't pick. I said, it's very simple. I said, how am I going to pick? Peach and orange blossom, our dad helped Bob and I. Cucumber mint, Bob's loves. Peach and grapefruit rose is mine. How am I going to choose? It's a lose-lose proposition. It's all 3 or none. And so we have a saying: 3 in the door, 3 in the floor, and let's go do it. And we figured it out. And now with our Ketel One Botanical Spritzes, that was another wonderful journey that we did. We saw it all happening around us, and I see it at my own home. I see those darn cans there. So that was the same with the Ketel One Botanical Full Philosophy. All of our friends earlier in the week were drinking a glass of white wine. I'm not drinking Ketel. It's Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We're all trying to do a little less calories, a little less this and all that. And I'm going, you got to be bloody kidding me right here. I said, I'm not in the wine business. So how do I figure out my own friends who are drinking a glass of white wine? So that's how it all turned out. And I can sit here and raise my right hand in the camera and almost solemnly swear that most of them, if not all of them, have stopped drinking that white wine. And they're all enjoying during the week the Ketel One Botanicals. And now during COVID, respectfully saying, some earlier with the Ketel One Spritzes. And that's how we get through this year.
Yeah, they're absolutely delicious. So we are very grateful that they exist in this world.
Yeah.
Thank
you. Yes, bro.
Let me catch that one. Fanny, I think we're on to you.
All right. I know that Ketel One has been really, really good to the bartending community just because Amy and I have been doing these Marvelous Mondays since the beginning of COVID. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you guys are doing for the bartenders in this industry, Bob?
Yes, of course. Now, for us, the bartender has been from day number 1 the most important, basically part of building the brand Ketel One, becoming friends over time, as I did with Simon Diffett and all the guys in London. But also before that time, day number 1, Big's Restaurant, the bar bartender started to recommend us. He believed in the product, he tasted the difference, and started to basically sell it for us. So that's how we built up our business in the States, and that's how we have built Ketel One around the world. The world-class program the Diageo cocktail competition, by far the biggest competition in the world. And from day number one that the competition started in London, the first one, I was part of that with Ketel One. It was the only vodka in the challenge. And we are now in, 12 years, world class. We obviously missed COVID year, but in the next year, hopefully, we will have 2021 winner world class again somehow. And because of that program, world class, lots of bartenders are trained around the world. In the States, obviously, you are far ahead of most countries with the cocktail culture. But the rest of the world had to catch up. And in certain countries in the world, they not even had the right tools. So World Class started to educate people. Ketel One was involved doing the explanation and the distillation, how Ketel One is made. And we started to help them basically know how to make a cocktail. And that was before the internet really took over, and YouTube nowadays you can find anything you want to do. You can find a movie about it, and that's really helpful actually. So slowly we started to build more and more friends around the world. Bartender fraternities, we started to help bartenders in certain countries, bring them together, share knowledge, and that is what we are doing up to now. A few years ago, and then you will meet later Kevin, inspired us, Ketel One, Nolet Family, to really step up and do something, basically for the future of our industry and our country and our planet, basically. And we would like to also show you that part. So bartenders are our biggest fans and friends, and I hope that the on-trade can start up again, because we all need it.
Absolutely. How do you recommend like new bartenders and new people who haven't had Ketel One? How do you recommend them tasting Ketel One vodka versus other vodkas?
Actually, it is very simple. You basically have to taste all the products on your back bar on room temperature and find out what the quality is and what does it taste like. Vodka obviously is the most neutral spirit in the world. That is also the purpose of vodka. It is mixable, the most mixable spirit in the world. So you have to taste it room temperature. So you take Ketel One, you take any other vodka that you have in your back bar or in your well, room temperature, just a little sip, swirl it around in the mouth, swallow a little bit, and you will experience in the mouth, right here, if it's harsh. Does it have a long finish? Does it leave an aftertaste? Some vodkas, basically you take a sip and they totally disappear. You think, where did it go? And then you'll find out the true quality of Ketel One that actually coats your whole mouth. The tingle actually goes all the way up here, and beautiful, warm, nice, long finish. So if you imagine that as a quality, and you only basically do a drop of vermouth on top of it, the Ketel One actually takes that vermouth on a journey, a very long journey, and the flavors keep re-wetting, strange word, but your mouth doesn't dry out. And that experience all is in Ketel One, and you just have to taste another vodka next to it, and you will see the difference.
Yeah, I was in the Diageo offices for like world-class training, and they had us taste, like really, really taste it the way you told us to taste it today. Yeah. And it was so silky. It just coats my mouth so silky, and I've never like had that before. Like really like be intentional when I'm tasting it. And it was really nice to like love this vodka even more,
Yeah. No, actually, Dennis calls it, you will meet Dennis in a few minutes, it's sort of a canvas for a bartender to work from. You have the perfect quality, you just add a few flavors. You don't need to add sugar to make it softer and get rid of the harshness. You don't need to over flavor it because there's a nasty aftertaste. Ketel One, you can go anywhere because of the quality. Even just room temperature or in a martini without vermouth.
Yep. I think it's you now, Amy.
Yep. So I know we keep talking about Dennis, and we're going to get to him very soon. But first, next up, we're actually going to introduce Brett Gehring, who is going to be talking to us about better drinking, the community spirit, and specifically the Male Relief Program. So let's pull up Brett.
Thank you, Amy. Hey, everybody. And now, I'm very honored to be able to present and talk about something that's very near and dear to Carl and Bob. Our hearts go out to all of our brothers and sisters behind the bar and in the industry that have been impacted by COVID. And, they've always welcomed us into their bars. They've always, with open arms, and just have always had our backs with Ketel One Vodka and Nolet Gin. And so Carl and Bob wanted to try to do something to give back and be there for all of you that are on the call and everyone around the world that have helped, spread and grow these brands. And so honored to talk about our Nolet Family Relief Program. It is a monthly relief program that individuals who are in the industry, you can be a bartender, you can be a server, you can be front of house, back of house, doesn't matter. If you've been impacted, if you've been furloughed, if you've been laid off your job, through our partners, Another Round, Another Rally, and there you can see the graphic. We've partnered where you can apply for relief on a monthly basis, and it's e-vouchers to key retailers around the country. So it might be a meal you need, you might need groceries, you might need diapers if you have kids. We see this just beyond just individual bartenders and meals. We wanted to reach the whole hospitality industry in general. So just an amazing, generous feat on behalf of Carl and Bob and the entire Nolet family that we've been honored to be able to take to our brethren out there as a sign of support. And, unfortunately, as we kind of dig in here for probably a long winter, we want to encourage for those of you online to continue to go through this. If apply on anotherround.org. If you know of anybody that, again, is currently unemployed or been furloughed, please apply once a month. You can reapply $50 e-vouchers that once you go through the application process with the charity, they'll get those to you in your inbox. So again, honored to present and talk about that, and just want to tell everybody stay safe out there and know that we will persevere through all of this. So back to you guys. So thank you, Amy and Fanny.
Thank you so much. This is incredible. I mean, this brand just helps everybody all around. I would like to introduce next the world-class bartenders, Kevin Patnode and Dennis Tomsa. Sorry. My bad.
I tried to make your life easy by saying, just call me Dennis.
Call me Dennis. That's fine.
Dennis, let's talk about you. Introduce yourself a little bit.
Nobody cares. No? Or did I? So I wanted to say first, so much fun to hear the two brothers talking about the old stories. You can never have enough of those stories. That's the beauty. Carl is maybe complaining that we're getting a little bit older. Actually, I turned 52 yesterday, so yes, we are. But on the other hand, 48 more years to go, because I'm planning to go to 100. So time enough to do crazy things. So beautiful stories. But now we wanted to take your pick your brain a little bit on the future of bartending, and for us really trying to move it on to the next chapter or next stage maybe. That's why we also asked Kevin Patnode to be here, because he did something that influenced us, and now 3 years or almost 4 years down the line, things really changed, and we did some amazing things with the help, or with the connection of the bartenders. So a beautiful dream coming true, basically. But what do you guys want? You want me to talk a little bit about the drinking first, or shall we talk with Kevin first, or how do you want to play this?
Let's talk to Kevin first, and then we'll do
nice
questions afterwards.
Great, let's do that.
Kevin, you're up.
Hey guys, how's it going?
So great.
Well, hey from Istanbul. I've been world class since I competed first in 2015. I got to compete twice in the global finals.
Wow.
So any bartenders watching you have to compete in world class if you haven't yet. It's probably the best experience of your life. And while I never won the global final, I came quite close, but I feel like I won because I got to meet Dennis, and I really got to know Bob really well through some of the challenges. Every time I competed, Bob was always like in the crowd. It would be like my team from Turkey and some other nice bartenders, and it was like Bob Nolet is watching me make cocktails right now. You know, it was like nothing's more nerve-wracking than that. It felt so great being able to like perform and do these kind of challenges. And then of course we were challenged with this eco challenge when I was in Mexico City at the global final. And of course, I wanted to approach it in a unique way. You know, it's a competition, and I figured, okay, I should be really sustainable and really think about all the things the judges are going to want. And then as I was researching in Turkish and in English, whenever I could, about where I could find local ingredients or local anything, I realized I couldn't find anything. There was no website or links in the city of these farmers or anything, but I knew that they existed. I would drive by them on the bus on the way to the airport, or I knew that I would see like apiaries and people like collecting honey in these like suburban areas in the city, but I couldn't find out how to reach them. So actually, before I went to Mexico, I was able to start this this project, which I called the Hive, which was a kind of consortium of information, which I was able to put on a website. And then I challenged all the other Turkish bartenders that had competed locally in world class to join onto this initiative. So they would post their tips and tricks on where they were getting their local honey or their mint or dried flowers, or like people that were using sustainable techniques for maybe pickles or things like that that we could use for our bars. And it kind of just took off from there. And then Dennis kind of saw my idea and Bob saw my idea, and they're like, we're going to take this to the next level. And I never realized it could, kind of grow to where it is today. It was really amazing.
That's so awesome. We actually have a video that we could show you on his project. Let's roll it.
Supporting the community has always been important to me. And in terms of sustainability, using fresh, local produce is one of the best things that you can do. It's not only better for local businesses and the environment, but your cocktails will take on a unique local flavor as well. When trying to create a sustainable cocktail, I found it extremely difficult to find local organic ingredients in Istanbul. So I created a platform inspired by bees, which I called the Hive. Bees only travel within 7 kilometers of their hive, so it made sense that we should source things in the same way. The Hive shows consumers and bars how they can do this, enabling them to make more thoughtful choices regarding the things that they buy.
Istanbul.
Super cool.
And that's a brilliant name too for, the Hive Project.
Yeah, I didn't think it was so catchy when I thought it was kind of like cheesy maybe when I started, but now I hear it, I'm like, oh, that was pretty cool.
It's nice.
I came up with that. That's great. That's super cool.
Kevin,
And
you
then
tell us a little bit
after I did that challenge, they made it into the global challenge for Ketel One the next year in the global final. So it was like cool seeing something that I had started and then watching all these amazing, incredibly talented bartenders kind of look to their communities and then solve what they saw they could help out. It wasn't actually about create this huge platform or you have to just always be sustainable. It was more about find what you think you can do in your community, what you can start, what you can make any effort of doing, and just go and start it. Try and see what you can make change in what's around you. And then when the global final came around, we saw all these videos coming in from literally every country, every continent. We were crying when we were watching the videos, but some people did amazing things. And we have some videos today to show you, but it's really cool.
That is awesome. So I feel like you've already covered the majority of the questions that I wanted to ask you. But was there any other things that you were hoping to convey by starting the Hive Project, aside from making sure that people were able to find what they needed when they were doing something like this? But were there any other kind of inspirations behind it, or was it really just that time of being in in the finals and like not being able to find anything, that was like the
Well,
big for it.
You never can expect it to become something because, you know, we're giving this kind of short period of time to prepare for the global finals, and you kind of have this idea, and just even able in that time frame to make that idea come to fruition was quite quick. And I was always on, I don't know how to make a website. I was on Wix and just trying to do what I could. And then luckily what I realized was it became a stamp of quality actually for a lot of bars to be on this Hive website. Mm-hmm. So for a while it was like bars were trying to get on and trying to showcase their cocktails. And it was a way of actually promoting bartenders. So rather than people thinking about sustainability, we were promoting it without being it that way. So it was a win-win for bartenders, and it was great for our local community, the suppliers that we were finding, and of course the environment and everything else.
That is beautiful. And can people still get signed up for it now? Is there access to it? Like, is there a way that we could get that link out to people that are watching us?
Unfortunately, I don't have the Istanbul one live anymore. There's luckily a lot of interest in that field right now. So there's a lot of people that are professionals and really know those contacts. And there's a lot of great businesses and local startups that have kind of taken over in that. But if people are really interested in Hive projects or would like to start their own, we actually are on Difford's Guide. Dennis knows more about this, but we're actually on Difford's Guide, and you can see all the projects that people have submitted or people would like to submit, and we're still helping and supporting people in doing those projects.
That is fantastic.
Yeah.
So let's bring Dennis into this now. What is it between you, Dennis and Kevin? What do you want to do with this project?
First of all, I have to say thank you very much to the two brothers for their time, because it was such a great talk, and even for me, although I'm 9 years working with them, or I'm allowed to work with them, it's great to hear the stories. And secondly, hearing the emotion that Kevin brings to the table about the Hive, and immediately I have basically two roads in my system. Is one, I'm getting super nervous because I think it is my duty to bring this to the world together with the help of a lot of people. But I mean, that's what really gives me the pressure. So sometimes I forget to smile. I will try to smile. And the other thing is remembering Kevin on stage and in hearing him talking about the Hive and the whole system, and thinking, and there is some things in my mind now I can't say because this is USA, but I mean, like, this is so simple. Why didn't I think about it myself? You know, it's damn simple. It's almost a martini. You know, if you know it, it's easy. But if you don't know exactly how to make it, it's super complicated. So we saw him, and I want to point out, I actually went over to him when he was done, so without a lot of stress, and I said, "Do you mind if I take your project and make it something, or try to make it something much bigger?" And not many people know, but just before that moment, that of course I asked him, but before that I had to talk to Bob, of course, and Bob and I were talking to each other. And what Kevin meant that Bob was in the room, you would see Bob because he's a head taller than me. You know, he's a big guy. You didn't see that in the talk, but he's huge, a proper Dutch guy, and so I had to talk to him and but in basically in a minute's conversation, we knew this was the way forward. So then the next thing was talking to Kevin, and you see, he's such a fantastic, energetic guy, an amazing bartender, by the way. You were talking, I was a bartender, that is 50 light years ago, so that's a long time ago. But Kevin knows his drink building, so it's very very cool. So we saw it, and I really think that there's two things there. Again, is of course I'm a proper Dutch guy, so I'm a trader by DNA. Like Carl was saying, you know, that's Dutch people. We are like that. My English is worse than his, but just to put him on a pedestal here. But there was a basic two ways. So of course I wanna sell more Ketel One in the end. But more importantly, because I'm an ex-bartender, and I say ex because it's such a long time ago, I want to elevate the craft of the bartender, because let's be honest, if you really go back again in time, 25 years or something, in the Netherlands definitely, you would go to a restaurant. It's a story that Bob always tells. And you would go, if you were lucky, to go out for dinner. And then you would get a plate of food and you would eat it, not knowing who made it actually. You know, the chefs were downstairs somewhere where the cheapest place in the restaurant basically. So no, maybe some windows, but nobody could see them. And then years later, suddenly the chefs were the kings of the restaurants, and now they're super famous people. And some actually nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. You know, so how amazing. And that's also some of my inspiration, meeting these guys. Jose Andres, who's an amazing, inspiring chef and doing so many good things in around the world. And that was also a part of the inspiration to do this with the bartender scene, because you can say in one hand, oh, Ketel One has such a good connection with bartenders. But then I think also as a Dutch guy, okay, but what are you going to do with it? I hope you're not just woke up to just sell vodka. You also need to do something good, no? And there's where Kevin and I had a very quick understanding, you know, an amazing project, the Hive. Let's bring it, and we call it better drinking. And in the future, maybe it has another name, because you can't say better drinking because people should take care with drinking. And there's all this stuff. So don't think for a second, you know, be careful with drinks and go slowly. Always drink water when you have a drink, all that stuff. You don't have to say that here. It's all bartenders. So please be aware and be responsible in this. But if you drink anyway, then maybe you take a drink from a place that serves better drinks. So to cut short, basically my dream was to give our customers nuggets of hope. You don't want to talk about sustainability, although it's a super important subject. You don't want to talk about it while you were sipping a martini with your loved one, because it's a pretty heavy story. You know, it's almost, I don't want to go there, don't worry, but it's almost USA politics. You know, it's pretty heavy. It's dangerous to go there even. So what you do want to know is maybe a story about the bartender, Kevin, that made all this effort to help his community out. Or maybe if we go to the next video, before I talk too long, you see an Irish guy from Cork, Ireland. You know, most people don't even know where it is. It's a beautiful place. I don't know now because I visited him. I went over there, but so. Seeing Kevin, sorry, then I will go to the movie. But seeing Kevin, and then worked for a year with the whole team to make one paragraph and send that to the world-class competition. So there was in that year was 56 finalists from all around the world. And the only thing we said, look at your servings from Ketel One. I'm not interested in any new mix. You know, they're all there already. They're amazing drinks. We don't need any more. But look at the drinks that you're serving, and what can you change in the drink to help your local community? Maybe you don't do anything, but you just help your neighbor doing the grocery shopping because she can't do it herself or something. But super simple things that everybody can do. And then let's see what happens. You know, that's what I call nuggets of hope. And a lot of people in the last 3.5 years don't understand me when I'm saying it. But more and more people it's more and more lending. So let's go to Carl Dant in Cork, Ireland, and let's see what he did, please.
Ireland has lost half of its bees that are crucial to our food and communities, and I wanted to do something about it. The Irish mule I make uses local honey because it tastes better and it supports my local community. I started serving the Irish mules with a pack of wild seeds for our customers to scatter, so that everyone can create more places for bees to pollinate.
Now, if you see this, and it's super short because I didn't want to waste anybody's time. Again, on differenceguide.com, you can ask for the Hive, and you see all these beautiful projects. But so basically, normally I say we can't save the bees overnight. You know, we just can't. But another no-brainer that I had when I was seeing this project was like, yes, okay, we can't save all the bees, but actually we can. We can save the bees because what are we doing? Every single ingredient in the cocktails that we are actually serving nowadays is, in the last 20 years, is bettered. The spirits are a high or better degree. All the ingredients that you put in there, everybody's using fresh fruits and much better. But we still use white refined sugar that gives you nothing but just sweetener. And I was like, why? This is crazy. If you go to a local beekeeper and you take a local honey, and I don't like the word local so much, but I mean somebody that actually cares. That's what I like about the beekeepers. They care about these bees and about the different honeys. If you take that as a sweetener in your cocktail, you're not only helping your neighborhood or your beekeeper, and in the end also the bee and probably the world we're living in. But okay, I don't want to go too heavy. That we shouldn't. But you're actually making the drink better because it is a better sweetener. It's more flavor complexity. So. Yeah, simple. So we actually can save the bee. But we can also go to Travis Koen from South Africa and do it completely different. So let's go to Travis, please.
I don't think I'll ever truly know what it feels like to really need that helping hand. I know I am one of the lucky ones, but that's even more of a reason to help where I can. I wanted to see if my Bloody Mary could create jobs, to see if it could change the lives of an entire community. I started with tomatoes from a local seller instead of a supermarket. Then I worked with a local shelter, teaching people to make and pack the mix. It was such a hit that we inspired bartenders all over South Africa to use our mix, and that means real, lasting jobs.
And Travis did, I will rubble on of how you say this in English, but a little more, and then I leave it to you guys again. But what Travis did is something that if somebody listens here, I don't even know, I'm talking to you guys and hopefully somebody listens, but any of us as bartenders, we probably know 50 really good other bartenders. So what Travis did, he thought, okay, I have this concept for world class. Let's connect with the best 50 bars in South Africa, which were basically in 3 cities at that time. And let's go there to do guest shifts and introduce the system to them. So there was 1 month out of his time, but it was also the assignment for world class. And suddenly there were the 50 best bars in South Africa were doing this. So for me, still, I get goosebumps when I think about it, because from 1 year seeing Kevin to the next year, suddenly in South Africa, the best bars are dealing with this thing. I was like, "Ooh, this can be much bigger than I actually thought of before we started it." And then the year after, actually, I was lucky enough to be in Vancouver, or actually in the mountains, in Whistler Mountains, amazing place by the way, to judge the local finals for Canada. And I saw Jeff's story, and I was again blown away because it's so simple, but so beautiful. So let's see what Jeff did. Let's say a few more words, and then we leave it to you and Kevin again.
I want people in Vancouver to see each other. I want us to see our friends and our brothers on the streets for who they are and what they need. Ketel One inspired me to create a serve that bettered my community and does some sort of net benefit to our society. My serve begins with Ketel One. I then use kitchen scraps, make an oleo out of that. We have a Canadian-grown ginger and a little bit of soda water. Very much a riff on a Dutch mule. Connecting my cocktail with the Save on Meats token program was my way of expanding my hospitality into our community. Save on Meats is a diner that's been working hard to combat food security. One of the ways they do that is with the token program. I might be worried about what somebody does with $5, but I'm not worried about what somebody's going to do with a sandwich token. The cocktail is a very simple cocktail, but the reality is I want people to really open their hearts to people on the streets.
Again, this is such a beautiful concept. The negative side of the beauty of Vancouver is there's a lot of people living on the street, basically. So if you're in Vancouver, one thing, you look at the mountains, every beautiful look through or the street where you can actually see through, you see beautiful mountains. And the other view you see is often people living in the streets, like you do in San Francisco at some places. And so I was there and then thinking of, what do? You walk there, do you want to cross the road? Do you want to treat them as non-human beings? I must say, I understood my fears basically, and I think many people have this. And then having Jeff presenting this opportunity for dumb people like myself, love to sip cocktails in the best bars around the world, because that's actually my job. But then the next day, being able with a few, I wanted to say a stack of this coins, but you can't say that, of course. I only drink 2 a night. So you have some of these tokens, and you can actually do something about it. And you can give a homeless person a token, and they go to this restaurant that they know. They get some food, but actually more important even, and I never understood that before I started this journey, is they get some humanity. They get to talk to, which I don't if I walk on the street. And I'm proud enough to, I'm also ashamed enough to say it on this channel. I forgot about that. The cool thing about Jeff's project is actually 3 years ago, just after Kevin, I flew to Canada, to Toronto, and I spoke to a gentleman from the biggest bars and restaurant agency in Canada. I think they own about 1,400 different bars and restaurants with several different brands. And he said, could we talk about sustainability, or what are you guys doing? Because we are actually thinking about certain things, and maybe we can collide together and do something bigger. And so last year I saw him again at the global finals in Scotland, and I said, I have just that thing we talked about 3 years ago, because we stayed in contact, but it's a difficult topic. You don't want to build only windmills So I said, we have to talk to Jeff. So I actually pulled Jeff into the conversation, although he was actually in the world class final. So excuse me for that, Jeff. It was for a good cause. And the beautiful thing now is almost a year after, but that's basically because of COVID. In 700 of their venues, they have a cocktail menu with Ketel One. Each and every cocktail on that menu, $1 is donated to the Canadian Food Bank. That makes me super proud. I almost get emotional if I say it for the millionth time, but it is such a beautiful thing. And this is bartenders doing it, and I know that Kevin will be proud if I say this, because I on purpose didn't tell the outcomes of this thing before this call. And it's got even bigger. So the Canadian team of Diageo also saw the opportunity, and now they made a deal with the liquor board, basically. And every sold bottle of Ketel One in the liquor stores, also $1 is donated to the food bank. So suddenly, one bartender with a crazy idea in that beautiful hotspot of a bar in Vancouver, with the token program, now provides food for I don't know how many people, but probably thousands. So that's amazing. So if you think we can't, I almost want to say you're fucking wrong, and I did it now, but you're wrong. You can help. We can do this thing, and I need your help. And that's also, now I'm fully in there, but I need all your help to get to a bigger system here, because every single bartender, I'm not saying that all the dive bars, but most friends of mine are running the best bars in the world. You had Charles Joly, I think last Monday or the day before, or the week before. People like him, they can influence other people. So if we all get behind this, we can do so many beautiful things. And yes, I know I'm a Dutch guy, so we'll sell a little bit more Ketel One as well. But it's good for a good cause, I think. So I stopped talking, because everybody will be more happy then.
Nonsense. You're incredible. That it's so cool that these programs are happening and you are fueling everything behind it. I mean, not only does the Ketel Nolet family make incredible products, but you're doing a lot of work for our community, which is super important. And that's, those are the brands we want to continue to support as bartenders as well. The ones who are absolutely invested in our well-being and trying to make something great happen for the rest of the world. It is possible. All of these things are possible.
Very true, yes. And that's also the beauty of working for, I know I promised to stop talking, but that's also the beauty of working for a family business. Bob, 3 years ago, or 3.5 years ago, when we saw Kevin, he said, okay, yes, let's do this. Okay, you go and do this. You know, I come to the office sometimes, but actually I'm just doing this, you know, and it's, you can't, it's sudden, slowly it's getting grip or it's getting somewhere, but it's, in no other company this is possible. You just free a guy and just make him do this kind of things, you know. And I want to say this because a lot of people on the other side, they don't know, you know, they think brands and there's this brand ambassadors and they're pushing their liquid, and of course we do, but there is so much things out there that you don't know actually. So I'm super grateful for Bob and the family and Carl, of course, to let me do it. Because it's an amazing thing, and I feel it here, and I hope you guys feel it now too.
I don't want to speak for Fanny, but I'm pretty sure she feels it like I do. So feeling it.
Nice, feeling it. Good. Let's do this.
Oh, all right. Well, I mean, I think we're starting to wrap up right now. Do Dennis or Kevin, do you have anything else you want to add before we wrap up this incredible talk that we have had today?
No, thank you. First of all, of course, to Bob. He's always been like a dad to me in the bartending community. Dennis as well. He always comes to Istanbul, and I get to hang out with him. And it's like I feel like a part of their family in a nice way. Every time I go to Amsterdam, we always meet up and hang out. And yeah, thank you so much for hosting me. It's really nice chatting with Americans. I miss home sometimes. I've been here for a long time in Turkey, so it's nice to chit-chat with you guys. I hope you have a good Thanksgiving or a good holiday season. And yeah, thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. I mean, Bob, Carl, I know he's gone. Dennis, Kevin, Fanny, Brett. This has been absolutely amazing. There's going to be a very interesting thing coming up very soon, the first week of December. On December 1st and 2nd, there's going to be an opportunity to do a 45-minute tour of the Nolet Distillery, if I am seeing that correctly. And that is going to be happening at 5 p.m. Eastern on those 2 days. Portland Cocktail Week is going to be sending out registration info tomorrow, so be peeled. Keep those eyes open. Be ready for that. And make sure you sign up also for the mailing list so you can stay in touch with all of us and get up to the moment information about all these things that are going on. It's portlandcocktailweek.com/newsletter. That'll help you get signed up there. But this has been an incredible experience today. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Fanny, as well, for being my co-host. And I will give it to you to take away for the ending here.
Well, thank you, everyone, for taking the time out for joining us today. And we hope we made your day a little more marvelous. Thank you so much, Nolet Distillery team and Ketel One. You guys are incredible. And hopefully one of these days we can come visit your distillery when it's safe. Thank you. Another round, another rally, Portland Cocktail Week. And Amy, if you want to see more marvelous Monday classes like this one, follow Portland Cocktail Week on Facebook. We have new classes on weekdays and an archive of our past classes and a video tab here. Excuse me. And we're posting these videos on YouTube as well for folks who aren't on Facebook. We're also on Instagram, so you can find out what's coming up there next. So tune in next Monday because we're going Dutch with Brendan Dorr and Tess Pusness. So we will see y'all same time, same marvelous day. Toodaloo.